Katie O'Hannon. I'm a customer success manager here at Inflow, and we have our March webinar reviewing customizable dashboards and how they can empower you to tailor analytics to your specific goals. I'd like to introduce you to Andrew Taylor. He is a UX designer here at Inflow. We're really excited to have him speak to our dashboard enhancements that are coming up. We're going to go through the agenda and then we can get into the heart of the presentation today. So first, obviously, welcome everyone. And really what we're going to focus on today is we are understanding that customizable dashboards are crucial in today's data-driven environment. They allow you to present information in a way that aligns with your team's objectives, making it easier to track progress and make informed decisions. So today we're going to explore the importance of customizable dashboards and analytics, how they help leaders share insights across teams, and ways to enhance alignment and drive data-driven decision making. We will have a Q&A at the end of this call. Feel free to ask questions along the way in the chat, and we can obviously share those on your behalf during the Q&A session. And also feel free to come off of mute when the time comes as well. But without further ado, we can dive into the dashboard portion of this segment.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I couldn't have said it better myself. Fantastic. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to walk you through some of the high-level features for our beta release of dashboards, along with some of the stuff that we have in the development pipeline and kind of just the long-term vision for dashboards. So I'm going to jump out of here and get into our demo environment. And so I'll be doing this as an admin. So that means that I have the full suite of permissions for dashboards. So that means I can create, and that means I can also manage dashboards. So to get to dashboards, we'll go to the business intelligence module. And then underneath the dashboard subsection, we have the portfolio link. So I've already created a dashboard, but to create a dashboard, you can go to your dashboard list, create new dashboard, and then you get to create modal. So we can decide to create one from scratch, or we can use a template. More to come. We can give our dashboard a name. Maybe we'll call this one GM dashboard. We can give it a description. So maybe we call this KPIs for GMs. And then we can create that dashboard. I used that same template to create this dashboard, which kind of gave us a solid foundation to build off of. We can filter our dashboard by the date range, which this will be more customizable moving forward. But for now, we have yesterday, current period, past period, year to date, and trailing 12. We can also filter our dashboard by groups. So if you configure groups within our system, maybe for hotel brand or region, you can quickly filter this dashboard using those, or we can filter it by individual properties. Now, this will mirror the permissions for the individual user that's viewing the dashboard. So for example, if you share this dashboard with a GM and they only have permissions to view one hotel, then they're only going to see metrics for that individual hotel and be able to filter with that single hotel. So like I said, that template gave us a solid foundation to build off of, but we want to make some changes. So we can go up here, we can click edit, and we can choose to change the layout where we have predefined columns. So we could do 3 columns, which makes it a little bit more compact. We can do a 50-50 split. We also have the ability to drag and drop our cards, and we can align those with however we see fit that kind of matches our workflows within the dashboard. So now that we're kind of happy with that layout that we chose, we can add additional metrics to the dashboard as well. So if we go up here and we click add metric card, we get the metric card library. And so over here on the left, we have these quick metrics. And one of the things that we'll be adding is a custom metric, and I'll cover that in a little bit more depth here later. But for now, we'll just focus on these quick metrics that we have. So if I select one, let's say gross revenue, for example, I can then configure that metric over here on the right. So I can choose the different card types. So we have a number card, we have a bar graph, we have a line graph. We also have a progress tracker. So you could use this for some of the metrics to track your progress towards budget or forecast, for example. For this scenario, we'll focus on the bar graph, and we can give it a custom name. So gross revenue compared to last year, for example. And then we can choose comparisons. So you can select more than one comparison, but just for this scenario, we'll focus on that last year. And then I think this is really beneficial for larger portfolios. We have this show only filter. And so if I go in here and I say, okay, I want my gross revenue to show and filter only either my top performing or my bottom performing properties. So for example, maybe you just want to focus in on that subsection of your property that's maybe in a slump and you want to help them get out of it. Like I said, we can do that gross revenue for our bottom 10. It will only show the bottom 10 properties for that specific graph. We're going to leave that blank for now. And then we can go down here once we finish configuring that and add it to our dashboard. Now I've already added this to the dashboard just for sake of time, and it's been added to the bottom of our dashboard. Again, we can click, we can drag that to the top. Maybe we want that to be the prominent highlight of this dashboard. So now that we moved that, we're happy with what we brought in, we can click save, and that saves our dashboard and it takes us back into the view mode out of that edit mode. And so it cleans up that screen. It takes a little bit of the busyness away, and then you can kind of just focus in on analyzing the data without accidentally moving things around. So next, once we're happy with the layout, once we're happy with the metric cards that we've added, we can now share this with people within our organization. So if we go up here to share, we get the share modal, and we can choose to share with either full roles, or we can choose to share it with individual users. So if I go in here and I select Director of Operations, I will share this dashboard with any user that has the role of Director of Operations, kind of making that easy to share it with a bunch of people at the same time. But for our scenario, we'll share it with a single individual. We'll share it with Hank Taylor. So now that I chose who I want to share this with, I can choose how I want to share it. So the default is can view. That means that if we share this dashboard with Hank and he comes to the dashboard, he's only going to see the metrics that we put in place for him. He won't be able to edit. He won't be able to share that dashboard. He'll only be able to filter by that date range and then the properties again that he has permissions to. The second one is can edit. Now we've added a sensitive tag here because this gives them the full suite within the dashboard of permissions. They'll be able to add metric cards, they'll be able to change the layout, they'll be able to share that with other people in the organization as well. So for Hank, we'll just leave it as the default can view and we'll click add. So as you can see underneath people, Hank has now been added to this dashboard and he has the ability to view. If we ever want to change his permissions, we can always come back to the share modal, go to the right of his name, and change those permissions as we see fit, or remove them completely from the dashboard. So that's a high level view of the functionality for creating a dashboard. But as an admin, we also have the ability to manage dashboards. So if we go to our dashboard list and we click view all, we then get to view all of our organization's dashboards. And because we have that manage permission, we have this button over here. So let's say, for example, you had turnover in your company, somebody that built a ton of dashboards for you, and you want to reuse those dashboards, but you don't want to have to rebuild them. You can go to this page. You could go, okay, operational health. Let's change that owner to whoever we see fit that we want to own that dashboard now, so that that person can now make changes to that dashboard and share it and so on and so forth. We can also have the ability to share dashboards to other people, or we could just delete them completely. Now, without the manage dashboard permissions, we won't see this button, but we will be able to come to this modal. And the reason being is because in the future, we want to add a feature where you can request access to a dashboard. So it makes it easy to come in here, say I see operational health, and I say, I think I should be a part of that dashboard. Those are probably some metrics that I want to focus on. I can request access, and then the owner of that dashboard will get a notification saying that I've requested access. This makes it easy and kind of streamlines the process instead of having to hop outside of the application and go to Slack or email them or chase them down with a phone call and say, hey, you got to add me to this dashboard. I think I really need to see this information. It just kind of allows you to click it right there. They get a notification. Once they open that notification, they can choose how they want to share it with you, or if they want to share it with you at all. If they don't think that you should be able to see that, they can decline it as well. So it just kind of streamlines that process of being able to share information across your organization. So that covers what we have for the beta release of dashboards for both creating and managing those dashboards. But let's hop into kind of what we have in the development pipeline. So one of the things that we want to add is additional product metrics. And so what we want dashboards to be is product agnostic. We kind of want it to be a comprehensive view of your entire operations. So for example, maybe you pull in a work order graph from facilities and you have it right next to an occupancy graph. And you can kind of look at the two. Are work orders going up? Is my occupancy going down because of that? Maybe we have a guest sentiment graph in there as well. And we say, okay, work orders have been going up, our Google reviews have been going down. It kind of gives you that way to, across your entire organization, across all departments and operations, give you a comprehensive view, a single source of truth to identify problems, and then go and fix those problems. Next, which I touched on a little bit, was the custom metric card. So we learned during discovery that a lot of people would focus in on a single COA. So maybe you want to track linens, maybe you want to track coffee, maybe you want to track toilet paper, for example. We wanted to give you all that data that we have in our system at your fingertips to kind of create these metrics that you can tailor to towards your organization's goals. So you could come in here, you could filter down to a subgroup, maybe a main group. You would be able to group that information maybe by your properties or maybe by the subgroup or the main group. Maybe you could break it out by each individual COA and track those individually. And then you can also select comparisons for those metrics as well. So how was that? How are linens doing to last year? Or how is it doing to budgets for us? So we gave you a really flexible way and a very powerful way to create your own metrics as well. Next, one of the things that we just kind of didn't get to for beta release was the ability to drill down. So if I was looking at a total revenue bar graph and I clicked into the property for CYCA, I would then be able to drill down within that property to my main groups. And then from there, I can go into departmental. And then right now, as we're looking at this mock, we're viewing rooms. And so we're seeing a breakdown of all of our room segments. And we'd be able to drill down farther into the transactions as well. And of course, we will put in safeguards moving forward for putting gates essentially for how far a role or a user can drill down. So say we maybe stop it at subgroup two. That's all the farther that they'll be able to drill down. So they won't be able to get down to transactions, but they're able to still drill down far enough to kind of solve those problems that they maybe are identifying. Next are some, like I like to call them little big enhancements. So they're more customizations, but they make a big difference in how you view and digest the information on your dashboard. So one of the things that we heard is sometimes people like to view information as a table, as well as a graph. So we're going to give you the ability to flip back and forth between those. So if you have a graph in there and you want to see it as a table, we'll be able to flip that view and view that information as a table. We'll also allow you to pull in metrics as a table right off the bat. Another one is taking cards and making it the full width of your screen. So for those larger portfolios, sometimes it can get very compact and it's hard to identify the visualizations in that graph. We want you to be able to expand the full screen of that so you can see a better view of that visualization. But also on top of that, maybe you just have a metric that you want to be the highlight, the prominent metric for that dashboard. You can put that at the top, span the whole width of it, and then everything below that will follow the layout that you have decided beforehand. That way you can kind of customize this without getting overly complicated and complex with a full customization. You can kind of tailor that how you want and it keeps it really clean. Next is saving filters as a default. So let's say, for example, you're an owner or an admin, you have access to all the properties, but you create a dashboard specifically for your Best Westerns. So instead of having to come to that dashboard every time, use the group to filter it down, we're going to allow you to create that dashboard, set those filters, and then save that as your default view. That way, anytime you come to that dashboard, you're just seeing the information that you want to see. Now, of course, you can override that information and you can view it for all your hotels or maybe even different groups that you want. But if it's saved as your default view, when you leave that and come back to it, it'll always be the information that you want to see right away. And that is the current version of dashboards, along with some of the stuff that we have in the pipeline. And there's also some other features that we're working on as well to really enhance this. But this is kind of what's coming soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. And we'll send over the recording of this call. It will be posted on Knowledge Base as well as these slides for back reference, just in case you want to refer to what is coming in the pipeline for dashboards. But now we will turn it over for a Q&A. It looks like we already have one question from Assurance Hospitality. When will these items be released? And to follow that, when will the mobile app be released?
So part one, we're shooting for a late April general release. So that will be the information that you first saw when I was working on it, which is the quick metrics, a handful of metrics, mainly accounting based, and then all those customizations and the ability to share and manage those dashboards. That we're shooting for, I believe, the 30th of April, the end of April goal. As for the mobile app, that I believe I don't want to say anything that I'm not 100% sure of. I think that's for April as well, which mobile will include business intelligence. It won't include these dashboards, but it will include the interactive reports that you guys are familiar with. So for accounting, you have daily flash. For labor, you will have the daily flash, the housekeeping. So you'll have that on the go as well, along with another handful of features for scheduling and then invoices and everything else. But I believe that is April as well. That's a Josh question. I'll follow up with him.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those of you who are like, where is what he reviewed in my admin? It is not there yet quite. So um, another question, are there plans to provide a connector that will allow outside tools like Excel, Power BI to get data?
There has been conversations of that. It is a big undertaking to do that, to allow that information to be kind of at your fingertips outside of the information. One of the things that we have explored as well is being able to bring information in as opposed to out of inflow. So, for example, one of the things that we're exploring right now is your star data. We would love to have an integration with them, but there is some difficulties to that. But we will work with being able to import that information so that you can have that as a widget or as a card on your dashboard. And so we'll be able to kind of make an easy way for you to bring information in as opposed for information out. There has been conversations of it, but nothing anytime soon.
Awesome. What other questions do you all have? Feel free to write them in the chat, and or come off of mute and we can talk about it. We're really excited about these updates and we think they'll be really impactful for your workflow. So, um, one final chance for questions before we wrap it up. All right, awesome. Well, as I mentioned, I will send over a follow-up with the recording of today's call. When the dashboard goes live, maybe we'll have another webinar, so you guys can actually familiarize yourself with how to navigate it once you have access. I'm sure that will add a lot of questions once you are able to play around with it. So we can definitely look for that in a webinar upcoming. Some links that I'll also be sending over in a follow-up email or any ideas for future webinars if there are things that your team is stuck on with inflow from a workflow perspective or curiosities about other modules that your team may not be using. There's going to be forms for you to supply all of that information so that our customer success team can reach out to you. But thank you all so much for your time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, bye.